you aware that about 30 to 40% of the food supply in the United States becomes food waste? The US discards more food than any other country in the world. And in a country where 35 million people suffer from food insecurity, thinking about all that wasted food is upsetting. While there may not be much you can do to combat food waste in grocery stores, restaurants, and food service companies, what about your own kitchen? It's estimated that about 43% of food waste happens in the home. For me, one of the areas of my budget where I feel I have the most control in my spending is on food. And while I did pretty well planning how to stretch my dollar, for a long time I found that I was tossing out a lot of food. Once I became an empty nester, it was hard to make the transition from cooking for several people to cooking for one. I would end up forgetting about what I had in the fridge, which resulted in some pretty interesting unintentional experiments. It was gross, and I was just tossing out cash. I knew I had to develop a way to minimize food loss in my own kitchen. And I want to share with you a method that allows me to make the best use of what I have and eliminate most of my food waste. I'm not perfect. I just ended up throwing out about 2 cups of milk the other day that had gone bad. But I'm getting more and more efficient with cutting out food waste and making sure my grocery budget is being used as effectively as possible. Let me show you how. First, what I do before any menu planning is go through my refrigerator and pantry to discover what I have that I need to use up. And I end up with a list something like this. I'm sharing my screen with you here. It's a beautiful day here, and I've got the window open, so you might end up hearing some noise from outside, some vehicles, and if we have any emergency vehicles going by or airplanes, and hopefully it won't detract too much. But what I'm sharing with you here is the list that I make when I know that I have things that I need to use up and I don't want to have any food waste. I go through my refrigerator and my pantry and I make a list of what I have so I'm not throwing anything out. So first I do the fridge perishables, and then I do perishables that may be in the pantry. And I know this is a little tedious, but I'm going to try and quickly go through line by line this time so that you can get an idea of what I'm doing. So I create a table, and in that I put the item, its use, and then if there's anything that I need to buy or anything that I need to do in order to be able to use that item. So the first item is an open bag of spring mix greens. I'm only one person. They go pretty quickly, so I know this is something that I really need to use it fast. I'll be using it for some burrito bowls and some wraps that I'm making. For the wraps, I need to make some flour tortillas. I will make my own rather than buy them. I have some green onions. I will use those for burrito bowls and gyros. I have 1.5 tomatoes. I will also use that for burrito bowls and gyros. I have 3/4 of an avocado. I'll be using that to make avocado toast for breakfast until it's used up. I might use a little in the burrito bowls. It's kind of, whatever works. And if I'm making avocado toast, I'll use some bread I already have on hand. I do have 1 cup of cooked taco meat left that I will be using for those burrito bowls. I have 2 cups of cooked black beans. I cooked the beans from dry, and I made too many. I made them for the burrito bowls, but there's way too many of them, so I want to use those up. And I'll use up some in the burrito bowls, but then I'm also going to make some tostadas. In order to make the tostadas, I need corn tortillas. I do not have those here, so I place that in red as something that I need to buy. I have a 3/4 cup of beef stew. That's just some leftover beef stew that I defrosted. It's going to be a quick meal. I'll have it one day coming up very soon here because I just defrosted it the other day. I have 6 ounces of smoked sausage. It's one of the Eckrich smoked sausage links. I used half of it for another meal, and So the other half I'm going to use for a sheet pan meal. Now it should be noted that there's only 6 ounces here, but I'm only one person, and I kind of tend to use um, meats as more of an accent rather than like the main thing because it is so expensive. So the 6 ounces I probably will divide up into 3 meals. And I'm going to make a sheet pan meal using some potatoes, onions, and broccoli that I have on hand. I have 12 ounces of cheddar cheese that will be used in the burrito bowls, and I'll be making some buffalo chicken wraps uh, with part of that cheese as well. Um, I have um, 1 cup of tzatziki sauce, which I'll be using in the gyro wraps, and of course I need the tortillas, which I stated above here. Um, I have 1 cup of feta cheese, also for the gyro wraps. I have 16 ounces of mozzarella. And what I decided to do is, I have family that is heading out here soon to go on a cruise to Disney. It's my son, his wife, and the 2 grandkids. And so what I decided to do is I'm going, you know how it is when you come back on vacation, and I'm going to be picking them up from the airport, and I know that they're getting in later that evening. Nobody's going to want to go grocery shopping. Nobody's going to want to cook the next day. They're going to be busy doing laundry, getting reoriented. So I'm going to make a lasagna. I'm going to take it over there, and that way they will have it for something that's easy for them to warm up. Um, so I'm going to use this mozzarella for that, but I need lasagna noodles, I need ricotta cheese, and I need Italian sausage. I have the tomato products to be able to make my own sauce, so I will be doing that. Um, I have a half pound of bacon left in the refrigerator. I'm going to use it for breakfast and for those buffalo chicken wraps that I was talking about. In order to do that, I need to defrost a chicken thigh or chicken breast and then cook that up. I have 1 cup of red beans and rice. Again, that's a leftover meal, so I'll have that just for a quick meal one of these days. I have 1 can of biscuits. I will use that to make biscuits and gravy. I have um, breakfast sausage in the freezer, so all I need to do that is some milk. But I want to use that can of biscuits before it expires, and that'll be something that I do later on. It's fairly. I just recently bought it, so it's got a few days on it left, so it'll be a while before I use that. I have 5 ounces of shredded Parmesan cheese. I will use that for the lasagna. I have 16 ounces left of a container of beef broth that I bought. I don't have any use for that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I freeze that before it goes bad, and I can use it at a future time. I have 1 cucumber. I'm going to use that for the gyros and also for snacking. And to do that, I need to chop and slice that up. I have 1 red bell pepper. And I didn't have any intention for what I was going to use that for when I bought it. It was just such an excellent sale that I couldn't pass by. So I decided, you know, those bags of seasoning mix that you can get, they're frozen at Walmart. They have red peppers and onions in them. I'm going to go ahead and dice that up and flash freeze it with some onions, and then go ahead and put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer to use whenever it is that I want to use it. Let's see. Then I do have a dozen eggs left, and I will use those for the biscuits and gravy. Also for lasagna, when I make that, mix it with the ricotta cheese. So those are just going to be used for a number of different meals. I have in my pantry, that was the last of the fridge perishables. In the pantry, I have 3 red potatoes I need to use up. So I'm going to use that for the sheet pan meal that I'm making with the broccoli and the smoked sausage that I have left over. I have 1 yellow onion left, and as I said before, I'm going to use that with the red bell pepper up here that I'm going to make the seasoning blend with. And I'm also going to use part of it to add to the sheet pan meal.
I have 3 large slices of sourdough bread left. That's going to be used for the avocado toast. I have a half of a small bag, and we're talking about the snack bags of Doritos. And I like to crumble those up and put them on my burrito bowls. So I'll be using those for that. Okay, so now I've gone through everything. And as you recall, I had up here in red all the things that I needed to buy. So we'll go ahead and we'll go back down here. And now I have my shopping list from those red listed items. I need to buy corn tortillas, lasagna noodles, ricotta cheese, Italian sausage, and milk. And that's all I will need. The things that I need to do from that list: I need to make the flour tortillas. I need to cut up the onions and peppers to make that seasoning mix. Freeze that beef broth before it goes bad. Defrosted chicken breast, which I'll be using for the gyros, and the chicken bacon ranch wraps that I'm going to make. I need to cook that chicken breast, and I need to make the lasagna. And the lasagna is going to be later on. They haven't even left yet. So then I went ahead and I went through and I listed the meals that I'm going to be having out of this. So there's beef stew, red beans and rice, burrito bowls, black bean tostadas, the Heroes, the smoked chicken, the smoked sausage sheet pan, the chicken bacon ranch wrap, and the biscuits and gravy. Well, now there's some scrambled eggs probably on the side of those. So that totals 24 meals and 12 days. That's 12 days of meals, breakfast and lunch, or excuse me, lunch and dinner, that I will be getting out of the food that is just the perishables plus, purchasing a couple items, to be able to make sure that I use all that stuff up and it doesn't end up in the trash. So I'll have 12 days, almost 2 weeks of meals without really even going into my freezer and all my long-term pantry stock up. I have a whole chicken. I have bunches of other chicken. I've got fish. I've got ground beef. I've got a freezer full of stuff. But the only thing I'm going to be pulling out of my freezer for the next 12 days is that one chicken breast. So you see that making sure that you use up everything that you've got that's perishable and not throwing it away and using it in such a way that is intentional is going to save you a lot of money on your groceries. And it's not just about going to the store and finding the things that are on special or finding the lost leaders and buying the cheapest thing that you possibly can. It's being a good steward of what you already have in the house and not tossing it away, which I did a lot of. It's easy to do when you're one person for it to go bad. And creating a number of different meals so that you have something that you have some variety and you're not getting bored, and it's nutritious as well.
I hope this will help you if you also struggle with making sure you use up food before it goes bad. Before I end this video, I have a question from my viewers. Remember when I said earlier that I recently tossed out a spoiled carton of milk? And did you see that I have on my shopping list that I need to purchase more milk? Do you see another potential waste brewing? I'm not a milk drinker, but I do use milk for cooking and baking. If you're the same, please tell me if you discovered a workaround so that you aren't having to toss out spoiled milk. Do you pour some into a container to use now and freeze the rest? Do you buy small containers of shelf-stable milk? Do you use powdered milk? I'm not really sure what to use that will prevent waste but will work equally well in cooking, like making a roux, but also in baking. Please leave your milk thoughts in the comments below. And thanks for joining me today.